Perfect. Okay. So welcome, everyone. It's my pleasure once again to be here with you for the Intersectional Infinity Summit. I'm Karen Tim. My pronouns are she, her. I'm one of the founders of the Neurodivergent Infinity Network of Educators. And we are a global network of educators that are working together to broaden the narrative, increase the idea of what it is to be neurodivergent, and specifically for many of us autistic, or in many cases those who are autistic might also have other neurodivergencies. And that's all based on, human rights and raising understanding of what it is to be autistic and neurodivergent, and how as communities we can support certainly our youngest members of our communities, but also through the lifespan. So I'm really pleased to be here with you, Baljit. We have a new partnership that has been established recently. I always give credit to Aidan Lee, who's that wonderful young man who has just done so much for the community at the young age of, I think is he still 19? He's still, or 18 even?
I think he's turning 19 this year.
Yeah, I thought so, right? Fantastic. And so if you ever have a chance to look at his work, please do. He's just tremendous advocate, podcaster, artist, all around amazing human. So before we get started, I would like to first do our land acknowledgement. And this is a land acknowledgement that we do as the 9 for our events. And then I will introduce Baljit. So we would like to acknowledge that many Indigenous nations from across Turtle Island and across the world have longstanding relationships, both historic and modern, with the territories and lands upon which our advocacy and community leadership occur. We would like to acknowledge the traditional, ancestral, unceded territories of these nations, as the struggle for Indigenous rights is deeply connected to all human rights work. When we recognize the systemic and social connections within our work, it is also essential that we refuse to historicize these struggles, because doing so ignores the impact of colonial oppression, which persists today. In our advocacy efforts, we are committed to disrupting and dismantling the systems of oppression that have dispossessed Indigenous people of their lands and denied their rights to self-determination. And this work is essential to human rights work across the world. So I thank you for allowing me into this space with you as a partner with Sikhs for Autism. I should mention as well, we always try to do a visual description for those who do not see with their eyes. I am a white woman with purple tinted glasses. I have long straight hair, and I'm wearing a multicolored hairband. My background is a white background right now with the Neurodivergent Infinity Network of Educators text on top of a rainbow infinity symbol, which is the neurodiversity symbol. And I'm just so pleased to be here with you, Baljit, and with those that are joining us either in the Zoom room and also in the live stream. So do encourage folks to come in. Like I said, I will put the link in the chat for any that want to bring in friends or other community members. By all means, do share that. But Baljit, I want to just turn it over to you, because this is a wonderful space, a wonderful opportunity, and I'd like for you to have the floor. So please go ahead. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you. And my name is Baljit Guhman. I'm a Punjabi East Indian male, right now wearing a brown shirt and a blazer. My background is blurred, but there's a lot of paintings behind me that I do in my spare time. And to start it, I wanna thank the Intersectional Infinity Summit to actually partner with us, collaborate with us, and Aidan, who was able to connect us. And I am so glad to meet Karen, and thank you for having us here. And this is a great platform to reach out. ਐਂਡ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਕਰਦਾ। ਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ੀ ਵਿੱਚ, ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਵਿੱਚ, ਹਿੰਦੀ, ਉਰਦੂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ, ਔਰ ਮੇਰੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਹੋਏਗੀ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਅਤੇ ਇੰਗਲਿਸ਼ ਦੋਵਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰ ਸਕਾਂ। ਸੋ ਮੇਰਾ ਨਾਮ ਬਲਜੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਘੁੰਮਣ ਹੈ, ਮੈਂ ਬਰੈਂਪਟਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਹਿ ਰਿਹਾ ਪਿਛਲੇ ਕੋਈ ਤਕਰੀਬਨ 33-34 ਸਾਲਾਂ ਤੋਂ। Or the way we started Sikhs for Autism is in 2019. I am a father of autistic daughter who is turning 15 tomorrow, and she's excited about that. And we have had a long journey for last 15 years with autism, just like any parent. In the starting we never heard the word autism, and we had no idea what it is, and what to do or where to go for help. It took us about 7 years after the diagnosis, 6-7 years, to actually understand somewhat of it and try to openly speak about it. Because in the South Asian community, especially from the Punjabi community that I come, we have a lot of stigma and taboo attached to talking about autism, other disabilities, other differences, neurodiversity. Neurodiversity word is new word. Even to me, it's very recent. In the last 3-4 years, I have learned it. So Punjabi community ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ autism ਬਾਰੇ ਜਾਂ disabilities ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਆਪਣੀਆਂ ਧਾਰਨਾਵਾਂ ਨੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਨੈਗੇਟਿਵ ਨੇ, ਔਰ ਸਾਡੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਹੈ Sikhs for Autism ਦੇ ਜ਼ਰੀਏ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਅਸੀਂ ਪਿਛਲੇ 3 ਸਾਲ ਤੋਂ ਇਹ ਸੰਸਥਾ ਨਾਨ ਪ੍ਰੋਫਿਟ ਚਲਾ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ, ਸਿਰਫ ਇੱਕ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਡਰਿਵਨ ਸੰਸਥਾ ਹੈ, ਕੋਈ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡੀ ਸੰਸਥਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ। ਅਸੀਂ, ਮੇਰੀ ਵਾਈਫ, ਮੈਂ ਔਰ ਮੇਰੀ ਵੱਡੀ ਬੇਟੀ, ਅਸੀਂ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਲੋਕਲ ਅੰਟੇਰੀਓ ਪੀਲ ਰੀਜਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਔਟਿਜ਼ਮ ਦੀ ਔਰ ਨਿਊਰੋਡਾਇਵਰਸਿਟੀ ਦੀ ਇਹਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਸਕੀਏ, ਔਰ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਐਜ਼ ਅ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਪੇਰੈਂਟਸ ਜਾਂ ਸਾਊਥ ਏਸ਼ੀਅਨ ਪੇਰੈਂਟਸ ਕਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਦਿੱਕਤਾਂ ਆਉਂਦੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਆਪਣੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ 'ਚ ਸ਼ੇਅਰ ਕਰ ਸਕੀਏ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸੋਲੂਸ਼ਨਸ ਆ ਉਹ ਅਸੀਂ ਲੱਭ ਸਕੀਏ। So our efforts with Sikhs for Autism have been to start a conversation in the community about autism, about neurodiversity, and work together to understand it better, to provide better support to our children who are autistic or who may have other special needs. Doesn't really have to be autism only. We have so many other disabilities or other special needs that are required in school as well. So if we as parents understand these issues and what our children need, I think we will be, as a community, in a better position to actually help everyone. And a lot of time we talk about autistic children, but these autistic children after 18, as we're talking about Aiden before, they become adults, and and all depending on the spectrum where they are, they may have different needs. Their requirements for sport may be different, and we as a community need to understand that ਕਿ ਜਦੋਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਅਡਲਟ ਹੋ ਜਾਣਗੇ ਤਾਂ ਉਦੋਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਜ਼ਰੂਰਤਾਂ ਨੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਨੀਡਸ ਨੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਦੀ ਰਿਕੁਆਇਰਮੈਂਟ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਵੱਖਰੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ। ਸੋ ਉਹਦੇ ਲਈ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਹੈ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇਕੱਠਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਬਹਿ ਕੇ ਵਿਚਾਰਨਾ ਪਏਗਾ, ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਭਾਸ਼ਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਆਪਣੇ ਕਲਚਰ ਮੁਤਾਬਕ ਅਸੀਂ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਉਹ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਤੱਕ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਭੇਜ ਸਕੀਏ। ਸੋ Sikhs for Autism ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਾਡਾ ਮਕਸਦ ਸੀ ਉਹ ਸਿਰਫ ਸੀਗਾ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਅਵੇਅਰਨੈਸ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰੀਏ, ਪਰ ਇੱਥੇ ਗੱਲ ਇਹ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੇਨ ਸਟਰੀਮ ਵੱਲ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਹੋ, ਮੇਨ ਸਟਰੀਮ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਐਕਸੈਪਟੈਂਸ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ, ਨਿਊਰੋ ਡਾਇਵਰਸਿਟੀ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਆ, ਪਰ ਸਾਡੀ ਸਾਊਥ ਏਸ਼ੀਅਨ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹਜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਅਵੇਅਰਨੈਸ ਵੀ ਪੂਰੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਸਕੇ। ਔਰ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਦਿੱਕਤਾਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਆਉਂਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਇਸੇ ਕਰਕੇ ਆਉਂਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਸਕੂਲ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾਂ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਮਝਣ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਦਿੱਕਤ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਇਸੇ ਕਰਕੇ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਹਜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਔਟਿਜ਼ਮ ਨੂੰ ਪੂਰੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਸਮਝ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਕੇ, ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀਤੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਪਰਲੀ। So as I was saying in Punjabi that, the mainstream, if you look at the world and if you look at the video, people talk about acceptance and neurodiversity. But our communities, if I can talk about Punjabi speaking community or South Asian communities, we are even behind on awareness yet. And we need to move on to acceptance, and we need to catch up on that. And sometimes I feel, this is my personal opinion, that the South Asian communities are being left behind. It's like a train is leaving from the platform, and you're trying to run and catch up to it and get on it. And we at Sikhs for Autism are trying our small effort to have this community conversation, have the feedback from the parents and autistic adults, and see how we can go a level ahead and support our children. So that's the purpose, and that is our goal at Sikhs for Autism. And and also the way we work is we collaborate with the different organizations, and also such as this one, for this summit, for last 3-4 years. That's what we have been doing. Moving forward from there, I know a lot of familiar faces here that I have connected very recently, actually, and there is a whole this big group on WhatsApp, which is right now, and many of them are probably watching it on live stream right now. And I just want to welcome each and one of you here, and that you have made this effort to come and join the Punjabi and English speaking session. And I can speak Hindi, and I can even address any questions in Urdu if anybody speaks that language. So feel free to use any of these 4 languages with me, and I will be able to have discussion with you on that. Just quickly, I don't want to be speaking here the only one. I want to give everybody the opportunity to risk time in, and if you have anything to say, please do. But I'm gonna say a few more things, and then we will open the mic to everybody. So my wife and myself in Sikhs for Autism, we started with these 3 A's of awareness, acceptance and advocacy. ਤੇ ਜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਚ ਇਹਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਲਈਏ ਤੇ ਜਾਗਰੂਕਤਾ, ਇਸ ਨੂੰ ਸਵੀਕਾਰਨਾ ਔਰ ਵਕਾਲਤ ਕਰਨੀ. So these 3 A's, ਜਿਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੀ ਅਸੀਂ autism ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ awareness ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ. ਅਸੀਂ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਸਾਡੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ autistic ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ, adults ਨੂੰ accept ਕਰੇ as is. ਔਰ ਜਦੋਂ ਐਕਸੈਪਟੈਂਸ ਆ ਜਾਏਗੀ ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਸਾਡੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇੰਡੀਵਿਜੂਅਲਸ ਆ, ਆਟਿਸਟਿਕ ਇੰਡੀਵਿਜੂਅਲਸ ਨੇ, ਜਾਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪੇਰੈਂਟਸ ਨੇ, ਉਹ ਐਡਵੋਕੇਸੀ ਕਰੇ autism, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਅਫੈਕਟਡ ਨੇ autism ਦੇ ਨਾਲ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਦੇ ਲਈ. ਔਰ ਐਡਵੋਕੇਸੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਹੈ, ਭਾਵੇਂ ਉਹ ਪੋਲੀਟੀਕਲ ਐਡਵੋਕੇਸੀ ਹੋਵੇ, ਭਾਵੇਂ ਉਹ ਸੋਸ਼ਲ ਐਡਵੋਕੇਸੀ ਹੋਵੇ. So we work with these 3 A's: awareness, acceptance, and advocacy. And our mission is to have the community engaged for awareness, and then move on to acceptance, and then eventually move on to advocacy. And we want our autistic children to go and grow into autistic adults, so they are empowered enough to advocate for themselves, so that they are self-sufficient. They don't have to always look at the parent for the support, that they know enough to advocate for themselves. So I myself, I talk to my daughter about her autism. She knows she's autistic. She have done some videos with me, and she have expressed what autism means to her best abilities. And one day she does want to be a TV host, and interview all the celebrities she can, and especially the BTS, the BTS group. So it's very interesting. Don't underestimate your children. If you have autistic children, they are smart and they are powerful. The things that I can't fix with the technology, my daughter does. So we need to be there. And as I always say, the parents, you are the biggest advocates for your child. Empower them so one day they can be their own advocate. And I have been attending many sessions through this summit, and it have opened so many all these doors in my brain, which were closed before. And I have started to learn new things which I never knew before. And I've been doing this for 3-4 years, and I still lacked knowledge. And so I'm on a journey to learn from you guys, from everybody. I don't know everything, I know very little, and I'm on this journey with my daughter, with my family, to learn more about autism, and how maybe you can help me. I'm just another parent who's trying to weigh my finding my way through this.
Okay, it's 10:58.
So just a few things, then we will maybe ask everyone if anybody wants to speak and share their experience, or have any discussion. What I have been trying to do is a work on something I called emotional village. I'm trying to see, even if in my local community where I live, just my street, just my 2 streets, so just a little small community, that I can have their awareness to the level that we can have a emotional village. And what I mean by that is ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਾਡਾ ਭਾਵਨਾਤਮਕ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪਿੰਡ ਹੈ, ਇੱਕ ਪਿੰਡ ਬਣਾਉਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਜਿਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿ ਸਾਡੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸੋਚ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਇੰਨੀ ਕੁ ਹਾਇਰ ਹੋਵੇ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਟਿਸਟਿਕ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ, ਆਟਿਸਟਿਕ ਅਡਲਟਸ ਨੂੰ, ਹੋਰ ਡਿਸੇਬਿਲਿਟੀਜ਼ ਨੂੰ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਟੈਬੂਜ਼ ਨੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਸਟਿਗਮਾ ਹੈ, ਉਹਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਰਿਮੂਵ ਕਰਕੇ ਵੇਖ ਸਕੀਏ. Or emotional village, the way I want to work on this, and I have been working on this through different events, workshops, and media, especially on radio. They have been very helpful. The way I'm trying to talk about emotional intelligence, I'm trying to talk about cultural intelligence, and there are 3 E's, like just like 3 A's, there are 3 E's that I work on, which is engage, educate, and empower. ਸੋ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਾਡੀ ਭਾਵਨਾਤਮਕ ਬੁੱਧੀ ਹੈ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਤੇਜ਼ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੈ, ਜਿੱਥੇ ਸਾਡਾ ਸੱਭਿਆਚਾਰਕ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਾਡੀ ਬੁੱਧੀ ਹੈ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਅਪਣਾਉਣਾ ਹੈ, ਉਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਜਾਣਨਾ ਹੈ। ਇਸੇ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਆਟਿਸਟਿਕ ਜਾਂ ਡਿਸੇਬਿਲਿਟੀ ਰਾਈਟਸ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸ਼ਮੂਲੀਅਤ ਕਰਨੀ ਹੈ, ਔਰ ਆਪ ਸਿੱਖਣਾ ਹੈ, ਦੂਜਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਿਖਾਉਣਾ ਹੈ, ਔਰ ਫਿਰ ਇੰਪਾਵਰ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਾਡੀ ਸਮਰੱਥਾ ਇੰਨੀ ਕੁ ਹੋਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ ਸਾਡੀ ਔਰ ਸਾਡੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਦੀ, ਕਿ ਉਹ ਆਪਣੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਐਡਵੋਕੇਸੀ ਹੈ, ਆਪਣੀ ਗੱਲ ਰੱਖ ਸਕਣ, ਔਰ ਸੈਲਫ ਅਵੇਅਰਨੈਸ. So emotional village, these are a lot of big words, I know. Emotional intelligence, cultural intelligence, and self awareness. ਔਰ ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਉਦੋਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਆਉਂਦੀਆਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਵਿਲਿੰਗਲੀ, ਓਪਨ ਮਾਈਂਡ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਡਿਸਕਸ਼ਨ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ. So ਅਖੀਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਪੁਆਇੰਟ ਮੈਂ ਕਹੂੰਗਾ, I will say one point, and then we will maybe see if anybody else have anything to say, and then we will move on to the myths in the later part of this for the later part of the event. So a lot of people ask me, why Sikhs for autism? That question comes up, and I want to bring that aspect in. So when my daughter got diagnosis, and me and my wife were in this hospital room with, I think, 5 or 6 different all these medical practitioners, and they said, well, I think at that time, they had different words. Now it's ASD, autism spectrum. Before they had a high functioning and all these different words. So they gave us a diagnosis, and all we knew is there is something wrong, and our hearts sank. We didn't fully understood that there's something wrong medically. So it took us 6-7 years to understand and come up with the terms that, it's a different way of thinking, different way of doing things that we were not used to. Nobody taught us, nobody told us in our culture. Culturally, we were trained with that mindset, very looking certain way, and you don't look on left and right, and you don't know. So when we started to look around, it wasn't that bad. There were positive things which came out of it, and and there are hard days, and there are good days, and there are bad days, but that's part of the life, right? So every time when I don't know and I can't find my path, I go back to the roots of my faith, and I have it here, which is there are 3 fundamental values in Sikhism that I go back to. One is Chardi Kala, to be in uplifting high spirits and irrelevant if you are in adversity or not. Your feelings and your emotions are stable, and you are able to think properly, and that's a stage of Chardi Kala, to be always in high spirits. So I looked at that there's you have to be always in high spirits, Sarbat da Pala, to seek goodness for everyone, irrelevant of faith, color, creed, name it, and you seek, you do all the good you can, anywhere you can, as much you can. And I looked at that. And then Seva means it's the selfless service to the community. You go out and do your work, and and that's it. You don't expect anything back from there. So I looked at those three things, that I have been growing up with these three things. So I need to capture this somewhere. So that's how the word Sikhs for Autism came in my mind, and I started Sikhs for Autism because I could relate to it. So it's not just specifically for Sikhs. Majority of my work in the last 3-4 years have been with people from the non-Sikh community. So, and people who help me in my work and editing and all those media stuff, there are many of non-Sikh friends in there. So that's how the Sikhs for Autism came. And then, our focus is to connect with the Punjabi community, connect with the South Asian community, bring us all together. And we, as a big family around globe, especially with the summit, this is amazing. I made so many new friends on Twitter and social media across the world, which I never thought in my life I would be able to. So this has been amazing for me. And once again, welcome. And I think we can open up if anybody wants to say anything, anybody have any questions. And so far what I have spoken, you can ask me questions, you can share your experience, anything that you want to talk about your if you're autistic yourself, or you want to talk about your experiences with autism through your family. So ਜੇ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹੁਣ ਇਸ ਵਕਤ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ. So you can even raise your hand if you have questions, and then if you want to have any input. Yeah, I see Charlie's hand up there.
Yes, hi, thank you. As a description, I'm not on camera. Pictured instead is a cute Boston Terrier puppy with his ears trained on the conversation. Yeah, I just wanted to say briefly that Mr. Gulman, I really appreciate what you're doing here. It's a very good thing, and I dig that you started this out of just the concern that you had for your own daughter and wanting to help her, and then and so yeah, this concept of service that you were talking about, I really appreciate that, because the way I see it, the things you're doing here, that helps my son too. It helps my family. And so I'm grateful. I'm very grateful. And I also wanted to mention, just in terms of neurotypical parents and how that there's a lot of neurotypical parents who, the way my ex-wife and I refer to it is they get it. And in fact, my ex-wife, my son's mom, I think she's one of the neurotypicals who get it. So yeah, just a brief little story about her is that when we first got the diagnosis of my son's autism, we of course just opened our world up to try to find out everything we could. And of course, that meant that one of the first things we bumped into was ABA. And so ABA therapy was a thing that we knew nothing about. And after finding out a little bit about it, I of course was greatly uncomfortable. But in a conversation with my son's mom, I really appreciated that she said, and this is pretty close to a direct quote, she said, "I don't know, it sounds weird. It sounds like we'd be training him to act like normal kid." And she put the quotations the air quotes up where we would want her to, right? And so, yeah, it's just, it is nice that there are people that we truly can count as allies. And I'm glad to have you as an ally, sir.
Yeah, Ross, thank you, Charlie, for your input. Yeah, and yeah, I started at because of my daughter, and then because we didn't knew anybody in South Asian community or Punjabi community, any family with autistic child. So we thought maybe like it can't be us only, right? So that's how we started to reach out, and we have found many parents now and many new friends. So once again, thank you. So we will go to Rupinder. Rupinder have the hand up. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Rupinder, and I have a 15-year-old son. I found out his diagnosis about 12 years ago. I was so pleased to find out when I got an email from Humberview yesterday that there is a organization called Sikhs for Autism, or basically not that I've been involved with, or now I've been involved with Autism Speaks, right? But in our Punjabi community, it is still kind of looked, people are not aware of it, like what it is really. So I have done my journey alone, almost 12, 13 years, right? So explaining people that there's nothing wrong with him. He's very smart, but I can't thank you enough. Like, you know, listening to you, the way you described your journey. So I've been kind of lost in that way and finding my path. So seriously, I was like, oh my God, I exactly felt the same way.
Yeah, no, thank you, Rupinder, for sharing that. Yeah, and you know, at one point, I sat down with my wife and elder daughter and said, you know, we need to go out and talk about it. It took a lot of courage, being from South Asian community, and especially having a daughter on the spectrum. A female is a totally different story than sometimes having a male on the spectrum from the cultural perspective. And lot of these issues parents try to hide, and you know, they don't provide them the proper support, or as Charlie mentioned, you train them to be a certain way, and yet you lose their personalities. My daughter have a beautiful personality. She's very bubbly, she's very talkative and very, very smart. You know, and we don't want to change that. We want her to develop as an independent personality. And yes, there is a lot of stigma in our community. Even last 3-4 years when I have been working, I mostly got positive response, but it's very hard for a lot of parents to come out publicly and talk about it, because I understand they worry about the way the community will look at their family or their children, and they think about their child's future. But I'm very happy, Rupinder, that you're here and we are connected, and you know, hopefully with all this pandemic going away, we can one day in person meet somewhere all together, and I'm looking forward to that. Thank you. Anybody else have anything to say or any questions? I see Karen have a hand up.
Yes, thank you. And I want to echo what was said earlier, that, you know, obviously, thank you for doing this and thank you for giving of yourself. And it is difficult work as you're trying to navigate this new territory. But I think one of the things on your journey that we've talked about before, which I encourage the community and within all communities to do this, is your journey now is to understand and connect with the autistic community. Because as a parent who is not autistic, it's very, very hard to understand if your neurology is very different, right? And we say the term different, not less, because really that's what our neurodiversity is, right? It's a type of diversity, and it's not that there's something broken or wrong about a child that is autistic, but our systems and our communities are used to the old-fashioned ways of understanding it as being a disorder, as being, you know, a tragedy, that whole idea. And so I just want to thank you again for really trying to take that next step and challenge yourself and challenge your community to learn from the autistic community, because that is the message that we really want to get out there to families. And what we're finding across the world is the families who are learning from autistic adults, because they have lived experience, those little people are embracing their autism. They are, I told you about the little girl when I was reading my book to her class, and she heard that and she cheered, I'm autistic too. These beautiful moments need to happen so that our little people are growing up embracing their own neurology and understanding who they are as humans, right? As opposed to trying to push themselves into a different box.
Yeah, no, it's important. And as I always say, people like me who are not autistic, who are not on the spectrum, it is hard to understand. But I'm, as I said, on the journey to understand. I see Shiv Dev Puller's hand is up. Shiv Dev, go ahead.
Hi all, my name is Shiv Dev, and I'm 32 years old. My son, he is 3 years and 3 months. So he just got with autism like 3 months ago. So before 3 months, we had no idea about autism. And then after 3 months, we learned a lot, even went to different therapies and all those kind of things. And even like, especially in our community, people don't talk about these things. But I think it's good to talk. So wherever I go, and like people ask why your son doesn't talk and why he behaves differently from other kids. So I just go and say that he's autistic, or he has autism, and people don't know like what's autism. So I try to explain them to best of my knowledge that this is autism, and this is how like he's okay, but he's different from other kids. He doesn't have any problem, but with time he will learn.
Yeah.
And still reading a lot, different kind of things, speech therapy, ABA therapy, occupational therapy. And so far me and my wife, it's a long journey. We just started. So I just want to say, everyone, like, just share the awareness about this, because the early intervention is very important in autism. Everyone says that. So if you figure out early, in 2 years or 3 years, so we have a good chance that our children will lead a independent or a good life. And there's a couple of lot of myths about this, that even like when I was new, like the stem cell therapy and then medicines and all kind of things. But the thing is that there is nothing that can be done from stem cell therapy or other things. It's just like you are the best therapist for your children. You need to do something. You don't need to be dependent on therapies. Yeah, go for therapies, but learn and then apply the same thing on your children. Love your children. It's not that going here and there. Help them, because the God has chosen you, because you're the best and you can help your children. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Shivdev, for your for sharing your experience. Just want to make 2 points before we go to Sarah. I see her hand up too. It's a long journey, and I have had 15 years of journey, and every year my mindset changes to something different things, and I keep learning and improving. My understanding keeps getting improved, and I think I have long way to go. And as you said, that our children will lead a good life, and that's what is in my mind, that when my daughter becomes 18, and how will she live independent? And that's why it is important what we are doing today, so they can lead a good life. But the community needs to be aware and accepting. If you have a community which is rejecting them and standing against them, that will be a huge problem for our children to face. And that is my driving force. I'm being as they say, self-interested, interest invested here. I'm doing what I'm doing, and I think a lot of parents are doing what they're doing is to make sure that the community and the society is developed in such a way when their kids enter that society, there is no difference. Nobody says, or somebody different have came in. They are accepted as equals, and as Karen said, different, not less. And that difference is our diversity. That diversity must be included in our society. And it is very, very important for people like you, people like me, people like Karen, and all of you to keep doing your part. I used to be a radio broadcaster a long time ago, and I always said every week on the starting, don't try to clean the world. If you can clean your street, start from that. If cleaning your street is too hard, just you can start by your front yard. So do the minimum bit that you can, because that will make the difference. So thank you again. So we will go to Sarah, and then we will go to Charlie. So Sarah, please go ahead.
Hi, my full name actually is Sarvjit, but I usually go by Sarah.
Yeah, I saw that on the screen. Sarvjit, yeah, welcome, Sarvjit.
Thank you. My son is 14. He's actually going to be 15 in 2 months. And like everybody else here, we've had a long journey. And his diagnosis is not only just autism. He was born with a heart condition that kind of sort of led to other issues. He had a stroke at birth. He was paralyzed on the right side, and that's where his speech was affected as well. He was diagnosed at 4 years, so we've been kind of going through this for, well, I would say we've been going through for it 14 years. He's been through 9 surgeries. So it's kind of been a rough road, and a lot of the times I look at him and I think the things that I've learned from him, I probably would not have learned otherwise in life. You learn to appreciate a lot of the finer things when you have a child with autism or any disability. That is when you get the true appreciation for life. And I've learned that in so many ways with him. Is amazing. And one of the biggest things I've had with our community, and I can't really even say just our community, but more so in our community, is the staring that you get from people where they make things worse for you. They kind of give you this feeling like you're doing something wrong, or you should not have been there because your child is making noises. I actually went to the Gurdwara, and when I was there, I took him with me, and he was making noises. He wasn't screaming or anything, but he just has this humming noise that he makes. And I was actually told by somebody to take him outside the room. And yeah. I looked at that person and I thought, why? Like, why should I be taking him outside of the room? And I wasn't even sitting at the front. I purposely sat at the back of the room just so that I could keep him away from not distracting other people. And there were other people that were sitting in the back of the room simply because they wanted to sit against the wall. And I said to the lady, I said, well, why don't you just move up? And she says to me, she goes, well, why don't you just take him out of the room? He's distracting everybody. And I said, well, no, he has every right to be here just as everybody else. But the way I got talked about that day, it just kind of really gave me this anxiety of like, why can't people be more accepting? And that was one of the reasons why I started looking into everything else. And then I never really found anything until Maneet actually mentioned Sikhs for Autism and getting our community more educated on things. The one thing that my daughter kind of brought up to me, she's 19, she goes, why is everything so focused on teaching an autistic child how to go about in the community, how to be getting along with everybody, make eye contact, be more social? She goes, how about teaching other people how to be more accepting of him, how to be more social with him? And that was like, you know what, that's a good point. Like, we are very focused on teaching a child with autism to deal with everything in the community, but the community is never taught to deal with that child. And I think that's where the focus needs to be. So that's one of the reasons why I looked more into this. And this is my first time here. And the more I'm learning about this, I think it's a great initiative to get everybody more educated, because we really need that.
Well, thank you, Sarah. Like you have touched many points, and I just want to make few points before we go to Charlie. The Gurdwara, for those who don't know what a Gurdwara is, it is the Sikh prayer place. That's if you want to say it in English, the Sikhs. It's like a Sikh church, so that's where we go for prayers. And when I did my first media interview, and the first call was that we can't even take our kids to the Gurdwara. And that's when I, decided that something needs to be done. And then I think in this year or by next year, Sikhs for Autism, we have more people joining in. So just want to welcome everybody who's coming in. And we want to work with some Gurdwaras where we can go into a Gurdwara and do a presentation to the organizers about autism, about neurodiversity, about inclusion, even though this is part of our faith, as I said before. Sikhism is all about inclusion. You go to Shri Amritsar Sahib, that is the city in Punjab. That's where we have our Darbar Sahib, the highest temple, also known as Golden Temple. It have 4 doors on 4 directions, indicating that irrelevant of who you are, irrelevant of your faith, color, creed, anything, you are welcome here as equal. And everybody, irrelevant of who you are, what your social status is, you all sit on the ground at the same level when you sit there or eat food. Nobody's above anybody, and this is incorporated in our faith, and that's how we brought the Sikhs for Autism. And we are, this is in plans where we will be going to, at least we'll start with few Gurdwaras and trying to do presentations there. Similarly, in one of the sessions, we had an individual belonging to the Muslim faith. They were having similar issues there, and I recommended that they should go do a presentation there, and people will be more comfortable. Take your child with you there, and maybe if your child speaks and willing to, they can do a presentation about themselves, right? The other thing about educating the community, how to accept and how to incorporate the autistic individuals. I have spoken about little in the past, but what we are doing this April, on April 24th at Toronto downtown at the Sikh Parade, we are launching something called Education 365. We are on a mission to educate at least 365, one person a day who is not autistic, teach them, show them, coach them, educate them what autism is and what they can do to help the community, how they can be acceptance. So we have shared the poster in March, but we are officially launching that at the Nagar Kirtan, which is a Sikh parade happening in Toronto downtown on April 24th. We will be there. And that is the day we are actually starting individual one-on-one in-person talks to at least 365 people by the end of December 31st. And we're going to continue doing that. And, I welcome everybody and including you, Sarbjeet, and everybody here to come join with us, and we can plan things, meet people, educate them. So I'm trying to, find any channels, any outlets that I can go to and educate individuals who are non-autistic, because it is important. They need to understand. And what I'm asking parents who have children going to school who are not autistic to educate their children about autism, about how to incorporate, how to be welcoming, how to be inclusive. And it's not only autism, any other special needs that a person may require. So I'm asking these parents to educate further, take that message from me and discuss it in the families. So hopefully we can all work towards a better good for this. I think next was Charlie's. Yeah, I see Charlie's hand up.
Yeah, thank you. I have to leave this space in a moment. My house is being overtaken with bedlam, and I wanted to mention something on my way out, and I'm not sure if it has already been brought up because, well, the bedlam. I got pulled away for a while. Anyway, I was thinking that if there was one thing that I could convey to neurotypical parents of autistic children and neurotypical educators, it would be that if an autistic child is melting down in front of you, like if they're having a meltdown, if that meltdown involves like defiant behavior, ignore the bit of pride that might make you want to be angry or something. It's a meltdown in an autistic kid is not something for us adults to deal with. It's a sign of distress put up by the kid that should initiate a rescue mission. And that's the way I view my son's meltdowns. When I see him, when I see the start of it, it's okay, this is now a rescue mission. I got to pull him out and help him. And that's so much of it is to just help instead of I never think about discipline. I just think about how is he hurting? What is hurting him right now? What in this environment is bashing into his senses? And so how can I help him? So anyway, like I say, it's just, that's what I would want neurotypical parents and educators to understand is that meltdowns are not something for adults to deal with. It's something for us to try to rescue the child from.
Yeah, thank you. That's a really good way of putting it. Yeah, and we myself as a parent have gone through many public meltdowns, and then we would eventually find out what's triggering. And with over the years now, we have a quite very good understanding of things, what would trigger a meltdown and how you can proactively deal with it and mitigate it, and train our child to also how to deal with all these all this stimulus coming in. So once again, thank you so much. I think Rupinder, you have your hand up from before, or this is a new one. Otherwise, we will go to Karen. Then I believe Karen have her hand up too.
I think that's from before. Before.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure. All right, Karen, go ahead.
Thanks, Baljit. You've touched on so many things, and one of the adults here said starting with love, right? And I think that is so fundamental. Love, try to understand, try to accept, and a lot of that understanding and accept is really fundamental because you have pressures in any community on how to raise your children. You have pressures coming at you from your family, culture, neighbors, school system, medical field, etc. And as a parent or guardian, it's so hard to make the decision. And I believe very firmly that every parent makes decisions out of love and they want their child to be successful. We've talked about this before. And I think when we talk about some of the things that you'd mentioned related to acceptance and engaging, right? Engaging, embracing the community, that connection that you are trying to forge between the autistic community and multiple communities really who you're working with is so pivotal, because if they are provided these resources in the connections to the global autistic community, then they can make decisions that are better informed, right? Because you said it yourself, you as much as you know your daughter, you can't be inside her head. And it's not to say that me being an autistic person can be inside her head, but often we can provide insights as to how she or another autistic young person might be experiencing the world. And I know Charlie is openly autistic and has spoken in our space before. Otherwise, I wouldn't share that. But he and I both are autistic and use identity first language, and helping your daughter and the children that are children of folks that are here, as well as perhaps in the live stream or in the greater community, helping them to embrace their differences and accept themselves is so important, and finding other people who are autistics in the community, because that representation is terrible out there in the media still. There's right now I don't know that there are any Southeast Asian or Indian autistics at all in the media, in news, like in television programs that I'm aware of. Last 2 years ago, the very first autistic actress playing an autistic character is only from 2 years ago. And she was a young white blonde woman, and they did a great job, etc. And it was an autistic cast, but representation has many layers, right? And that's why we're here. So anyway, sorry, go ahead.
And one thing I find is that listening, not just trying to be a typical parent and one-way communication, and more I have started to listen to my daughter, and I ask her, you tell me, how can I help you if I don't know what else to do? And when she speaks to me, I try to listen very apathetically, very tentatively, and it is almost every time that I understand and there is a solution in place, and I then find out, oh, okay, that's all you wanted. And I think listening is very important, listening to autistic individual, and then understanding and not making a judgment, and that is important. ਤੇ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਡੀਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਸੁਣੋ ਬੜੀ ਕਲੀਅਰਲੀ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਹੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸਾਰੇ ਸੋਲੂਸ਼ਨ ਲੱਭ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ। ਔਰ ਪ੍ਰੋਪਰਲੀ ਲਿਸਨ ਕਰਨ ਨਾਲ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਬੜੀ ਮਦਦ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ ਆਪਣੀ ਬੇਟੀ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਡੀਲ ਕਰਨ ਨੂੰ, ਉਹਦੇ ਔਟਿਜ਼ਮ ਨੂੰ ਅੰਡਰਸਟੈਂਡ ਕਰਨ ਨੂੰ, ਔਰ ਇਹ ਅੰਡਰਸਟੈਂਡ ਕਰਨ ਨੂੰ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਬੇਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਬੈਟਰ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਕਰ ਸਕਦਾ ਹਾਂ। ਹਾਂ, ਇਹ ਸੌਖਾ ਕੰਮ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ, ਇਹ ਇੰਨਾ ਈਜ਼ੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ, ਪਰ ਇਹ ਜਿਉਂ-ਜਿਉਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਰੋਗੇ ਜਿਉਂ-ਜਿਉਂ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਬੱਚਾ ਵੱਡਾ ਹੋਏਗਾ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਸੁਣ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ, ਉਹਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਨੂੰ ਐਡਰੈਸ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ, ਇਹ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਲਈ ਬੜਾ ਇੱਕ ਈਜ਼ੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਹੋ ਜਾਏਗੀ। ਇਵੈਂਚੁਅਲੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਉਹ ਰਿਲੇਸ਼ਨਸ਼ਿਪ ਫੋਰਜ ਕਰ ਲਓਗੇ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇੱਕ ਦੂਜੇ ਨੂੰ ਸਮਝ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇੱਕ ਦੂਜੇ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਸਮਝ ਪਾ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ, ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਨੀਡਸ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਅੰਡਰਸਟੈਂਡ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ। So I think we still have about 15-20 minutes or so. I would like to go over some of the myths. ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਾਡਾ ਮਿਥਿਹਾਸ ਹੈ, ਕਈ ਗਲਤ ਫਹਿਮੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ autism ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਹੈ, ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ we have a lot of these myths about autism. So I have about 6 or 7 that I have it on my screen. So I will try to discuss one at a time in a short period. And if anybody wants to jump in at any time during when I'm speaking about them and want to share their experience, please do. Just raise your hand, or you can turn your audio on, and you can jump in. You don't have to wait for me to stop speaking. So the first one is that har vyakti thoda bahut autistic hunda hai. Everyone is little autistic. That is something commonly you hear in our family discussions, or you go to a party and you're sitting there and you talk about your daughter and they say, yeah, we all are a little bit autistic. Ida nahi hunda, that is the wrong information. Autism ਦੇ ਬੜੇ ਸਪੈਸੀਫਿਕ ਲੱਛਣ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਸਪੈਸੀਫਿਕ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਬਿਹੇਵੀਅਰ ਸਪੈਸੀਫਿਕ ਹੈ। ਇਟਸ ਅ ਵੈਰੀ ਸਪੈਸੀਫਿਕ ਥਿੰਗਸ that make you autistic, right? ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਆਇਡੈਂਟੀਫਾਈ ਕਰਨੀਆਂ ਪੈਂਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਸੋਚਣ ਦਾ ਤਰੀਕਾ, the way they think, the way they want to do things, ਉਹ ਇੱਕ ਬੜਾ ਯੂਨੀਕ ਚੀਜ਼ ਹੈ। ਸੋ ਇਹ ਕਹਿ ਦੇਣਾ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਹੀ ਥੋੜਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਆਟਿਸਟਿਕ ਆ, ਇਹ ਗਲਤ ਚੀਜ਼ ਹੈ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਉਹ ਸਾਰੇ ਆਟਿਸਟਿਕ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੇ। ਉਹ ਸਪੈਕਟਰਮ ਹੈ, ਉਹ ਸਪੈਕਟਰਮ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਹੋ ਉਹ ਡਿਪੈਂਡ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ। ਸੋ I just want to relay this information that not everybody is autistic. That is a myth. That is something very loosely used when in the conversations. The next one I have is autism एक मानसिक ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਥਿਤੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ autism is a mental health issue, and you know, mental health issue is something, the way I see it, is something that you can fix. Like you can, you know, if you're going through stress or something, that something happened and you're dealing with it, you know, you're in a grief or something. ਜਿਹੜਾ autism ਹੈਗਾ ਹੈ mental health ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ, ਇਹ ਇੱਕ ਨਿਊਰੋਡਾਇਵਰਸਿਟੀ ਦਾ ਪਾਰਟ ਹੈ, ਇੱਕ ਨਿਊਰੋਡਾਇਵਰਸਿਟੀ ਦਾ ਹਿੱਸਾ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਿ ਉੱਥੇ ਐਗਜ਼ਿਸਟ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ। ਅੱਜ ਦੀ ਸਾਇੰਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਾਇੰਟੀਫਿਕ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ there is no cure for autism. You don't cure autism. ਇਹ ਇੱਕ ਸਥਿਤੀ ਹੈ, ਇੱਕ ਸਰਟਨ ਸੋਚਣ ਦਾ ਤਰੀਕਾ ਹੈ, ਕੰਮ ਕਰਨ ਦਾ ਤਰੀਕਾ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਜਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਟਿਸਟਿਕ ਅਡਲਟ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ। ਸੋ ਇਹ ਮੈਂਟਲ ਹੈਲਥ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ। ਹਾਂ, ਮੈਂਟਲ ਹੈਲਥ ਇਸ਼ੂਜ਼ ਵੱਖਰੇ ਅਟੈਚ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੇ ਨੇ, ਉਹ ਵੱਖਰੀ ਇੱਕ ਕੰਡੀਸ਼ਨ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ, ਪਰ ਆਟਿਜ਼ਮ ਇੱਕ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ASD ਜਿਹਨੂੰ ਕਹਿ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਪੈਕਟਰਮ, ਉਹ ਹੈ। ਇਸ ਤੋਂ ਇਲਾਵਾ ਜੇ ਮੈਂ ਅੱਗੇ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਾਂ, the next one is that you know, autism only affects children. Autism ਮੁੱਖ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਛੋਟੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਹੀ ਪ੍ਰਭਾਵਿਤ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ। No, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ our children will grow into adults, so you know, at 18 autism doesn't magically disappear, and that is one of the biggest thing that I look at, that you know, I want to make sure there are enough support in the community, and my community is accepting of my daughter when she's adult and she's independent. So autism ਸਿਰਫ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਅਫੈਕਟ ਕਰਦਾ, autism ਸਾਡੇ autistic adults ਨੇ, ਇਹ ਸਾਰੀ ਉਮਰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ autistic ਹੋ, ਔਰ ਇਹ ਸਿਰਫ ਇਹ ਕਹਿ ਦੇਣਾ ਕਿ ਵੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਬੱਚਾ ਵੱਡਾ ਹੋ ਜਾਏਗਾ ਤੇ autism ਖਤਮ ਹੋ ਜਾਏਗਾ, ਇਹ ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਸਮੇਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਇੰਟੀਫਿਕਲੀ ਦੇਖ ਲਓ ਤੇ ਇਹ ਗੱਲ ਗਲਤ ਹੈ। Autism lifelong ਜਿਹੜੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਹੈ, you are autistic, then you are autistic. There is no age for autism to be gone away. Okay. One more thing that I want to say is autistics don't have empathy. Autistic ਲੋਕ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਹਮਦਰਦੀ ਮਹਿਸੂਸ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦੇ। ਇਹ ਇੱਕ ਬੜੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆਮ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਹਿ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਜੀ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਐਂਪਥੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗੀ, ਇਹਨੂੰ ਸਮਝ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗੀ, ਇਹ ਗੱਲ ਸਾਡੀ ਸਮਝ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਾ ਰਹੇ, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਦਰਦ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ ਸਾਡਾ। ਸੋ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ। ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨਾਲ ਜਾਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਆਟਿਸਟਿਕ ਅਡਲਟ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਆਰਾਮ ਨਾਲ ਬਹਿ ਕੇ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋ, ਔਰ ਮੈਂ ਐਕਸਪੀਰੀਅੰਸ ਕੀਤਾ ਆਪਣੀ ਬੇਟੀ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਕਿ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਇੱਕ ਬੜੇ ਵਧੀਆ এনवायरमेंट ਦੇ ਬਹਿ ਕੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋ, ਉਹ ਸਾਰਾ ਸਮਝਦੇ ਨੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਾਰੀ ਸਮਝ ਹੈ ਜੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਹਿ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ। If you're saying hurting, you're using a language which is hurtful, they understand that, they know that you're hurting them. If you're loving them, you're using a loving language, very welcoming language, they understand that, they respond to that accordingly. So your young children, they understand everything. The adults, they understand everything. ਸੋ ਇਹ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਐਂਪਥੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ, ਉਹ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਮਝ ਪਾ ਰਹੇ, ਉਹ ਸਮਝਦੇ ਨੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਤਰੀਕਾ ਸਮਝਣ ਦਾ ਹੋਰ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ ਹੈ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਐਕਸਪ੍ਰੈਸ ਕਰਨ ਦਾ ਆਪਣਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਐਕਸਪ੍ਰੈਸ਼ਨ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਤੱਕ ਦੱਸਣ ਦਾ ਉਹ ਤਰੀਕਾ ਫਰਕ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ ਹੈ। The way autistic may express their feelings to you, it may be us who are non-autistic not able to understand. So maybe we need that knowledge and awareness and acceptance that you know, I need to open up my mind more to not just the narrow things but the wider things in my focus, and maybe I am not understanding. So ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਖਿਆਲ ਰੱਖੋ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕਮਿਊਨੀਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਹੈ, ਔਰ ਅੰਡਰਸਟੈਂਡਿੰਗ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਹੈ। So the next one is that there is a autistic look. ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੱਲ ਦੇਖ ਕੇ ਦੱਸ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਆਟਿਸਟਿਕ ਹੈ ਜਾਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ autism ਹੈ। ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ autism does not have a look. Okay, just like people with non-autism does not have a look, they have their own looks, individual looks. So autistic people are just like anybody, they have their individual looks. God have made them as anybody. ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੋਈ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੱਲ ਦੇਖ ਕੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜੱਜਮੈਂਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਨੀ ਕਿ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਸਰਟਨ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਦਾ ਦਿਖਦਾ ਹੈ, ਇਹ ਆਟਿਸਟਿਕ ਹੈਗਾ। ਸੋ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ। ਆਟਿਸਟਿਕ ਲੋਕ ਸਮਾਜ ਵਿਰੋਧੀ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਨ। Autistic individuals are anti-social. that is also a myth. You may have experienced that because maybe the society and the community is not providing the proper environment. Maybe we are not inclusive enough that they can participate. So that is not to blame on autistic individual that they are antisocial. Maybe we are not welcoming. And that's what I see sometimes in the Punjabi and the South Asian communities. We already had an example of Gurdwara. I can give you examples of many other places, even parties and weddings that you go to, sometimes they are not welcoming. They are not all these sharp lights and sharp songs and sensory. A lot of autistic individuals have the sensory issues with the ears or eyes or smell. My daughter have some sensory issue with the sound, and certain sounds we have identified in 15 years will trigger her. So we make sure that we don't do that, or we alert her. If we have to bring her to that environment, we alert her ahead of time. So antisocial nahi hunde, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਮਝਣਾ ਔਰ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਉਸ ਭਾਸ਼ਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਸ ਲੈਵਲ ਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਬਰਾਬਰ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨੀ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਵੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ ਕਿ different, not less. So don't just assume that any autistic person is less than you, because they're probably better and smarter than you. And I know that I have met so many, and I just say, well, I will sit back and I will learn from them, and it's an eye opener for everybody.
Can I just do a very, I didn't want to interrupt, but because you've made some excellent points, and I just thought, as parents or guardians, it's a unique opportunity when you have autistic adults in the space with you, because you don't often have that opportunity. And so like as an autistic person, I can't speak for every autistic person, as Baljit has said, everyone is very unique, just like those who are not autistic, everybody is unique, right? But the idea that empathy piece that you mentioned, it's exactly tied to what you just said about trying to connect. The double empathy problem that somebody put in the chat earlier, that idea came out of research by a man named Damian Milton, and the research showed that autistics communicate just as effectively, and actually ever so slightly better, with autistics compared with, I'm going to go have to plug in, compared with non-autistics so an autistic person can communicate just as effectively with another autistic person, if not better, than two non-autistic people can communicate. So when I get together with a whole bunch of autistic people, we're on fire. No problem, easy peasy, because it's like we're speaking a common language, even if we're very unique and different, right? And the same with, so I think that's something that is really fundamental to understanding. And the other piece you mentioned, like when families know what it is to have an autistic neurology, that helps with the understanding, because the way we receive information, oftentimes the sensory input, so the way we, like you said, hearing, it could be heightened or it could be lowered, it could be high pitched or low pitched, it could be, and touch, the way we feel inside our bodies, the way we remember things and how that can affect things. So oftentimes you might not, it might be like you're thinking the child is overreacting to a situation, but an example I will give to some people is, I can't be in a car with one window down. If I can have two windows down, but the pressure and the difference in air and the way it's coming in, it's like a high-pitched, horrible, awful sound. I can't handle it. So when you know those things, like you said, that is very helpful, right? Yeah.
And my daughter will have a concern with, when the television sound goes off and there is this sharp noise, stuff like that will make you react. And somebody is asking if there are slides in the chat. Yes, there are slides which If Karen, you don't mind, I can share these, people can see, and I can send it to Karen, and if she can post somewhere, sure, you can have access or you can contact me.
Yeah, I can do that. I'll post them right on
I
the
don't
site.
know. I don't know if you can see my screen. So this is what the slide, I have multiple slides. This is one of the slides that I'm going by. So this, I have multiple presentations. I have done presentations for other schools and school boards, and I have most of them in English. This is the first one I prepared in Punjabi and English. So I can make these accessible on my website. I can send it to Karen and she can send it out or share it on her website if somebody wants to look at them or download them. It's a very basic information I have here. So to continue with what I was talking is, the last one I have there is autism can be cured. Autism da ilaj kita ja sakda hai. So autism da koi ilaj nahi hai. Autism ek neurodiversity di sthiti hai. Tuada sochan da tarika, tuada kam karan da tarika, tuada jehड़ा ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਰਿਸਪੌਂਸਿਸ ਨੇ, ਰਿਐਕਸ਼ਨਸ ਨੇ, ਜਿਵੇਂ ਕਿ ਇੱਕ ਨਾਨ ਆਟਿਸਟਿਕ ਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਉਵੇਂ ਹੀ ਆਟਿਸਟਿਕ ਦੇ ਨੇ। ਸੋ ਆਟਿਜ਼ਮ ਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਕਿਉਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ। there is no cure for autism. there is no something that the autism will go away after certain age or it can be cured. And but I want to bring something in here which is very specific to South Asian communities, and even I did not think about it until one of this question was asked to me on a live radio broadcast. So I go to different radio stations and I take live questions. And I get calls from India because I have done the radio shows in Punjabi language that I do. And I get a lot of calls on WhatsApp from parents, and they tell me that ਅਸੀਂ ਇੱਕ ਭਾਸ਼ਾ ਇਸਤੇਮਾਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਕਹਿ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਜੀ ਇਹ ਬੱਚੇ ਸਿੱਧੇ ਨੇ ਜਾਂ ਇਹ ਰੱਬ ਦਾ ਰੂਪ ਨੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਪੂਜਾ ਜੀ ਕਰਨ ਲੱਗ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਾਂ ਕਹਿ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ there is a black magic, somebody have done something. And this is very, I don't want to say very common, but once I started to hear this, I have heard it multiple times that, a lot of South Asian communities or individuals, they think that there is some kind of black magic or somebody have done some kind of evil eye on my child and they have suddenly started to behave in a certain way. There is no such thing. There is nothing like this. So don't fall for it. And then, they are going to these individuals who claim to be autism doctors. They have no degrees or no nothing, just some off the road individuals who are using these parents to make some money and putting them on the wrong path. So I got this on one of my shows on radio, and I was like shocked that even today, it's 2022, we are still that behind. And sometimes I feel bad to say this, but there's no other way to say it, because we feel bad to have a whole community so backward centuries, that I feel that we have gone back centuries, and we have to catch up to 2022. As I said before, there are days I feel like the train is leaving and I'm trying to run after the train to get myself on that train. And not only that, I also feel this responsibility to take my community and get them on that train. And it's like a race against time, and sometimes I feel that, and then I have to go back and say, you know what, Baljit, just take one day at a time. If this train goes, we will get our own train and we will get on that. But that's how I feel sometimes when I hear these kind of things, when people are misusing and misleading individuals, and especially the parents, and a parent who does not know anything, not aware of autism, will be willing to do whatever they want to do. So मैं ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਇਹੀ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਲੋਕ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਗਲਤ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਪ੍ਰੋਵਾਈਡ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ, ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਆਪਣੀ ਰਿਸਰਚ ਕਰੋ, ਆਪਣੀ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਗੈਦਰ ਕਰੋ। ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਸੰਸਥਾਵਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਨਲਾਈਨ, ਸਿਕਸ ਫॉर ऑटिज्म ਹੈ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਕੈਰਨ ਵਰਗੇ ਲੋਕ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ, ਇਨਫਿਨਿਟੀ ਸਮਿਟ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ, ਹੋਰ ਬਹੁਤ ਸੰਸਥਾਵਾਂ ਨੇ ਜਿਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਸਲਾਹ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਅਸੀਂ ਕੋਈ ਮੈਡੀਕਲ ਐਕਸਪਰਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗੇ, ਪਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਹੋਰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਫੈਸ਼ਨਲ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਸੋ don't fall into these scams which tell you that we can cure your child's autism and do this and that. So
it's funny. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know you said that you've gotten calls from India with regards to that. The funny thing actually is that since you mentioned radio, there is a lot of advertisement on some of these radio programs in our Indian community that send you to these homopathic people, where they're saying that, you know what, here, go to this person, they have a cure for this. And it actually is geared at autism. They tell you that, oh yeah, they can cure autism with some of this medication that they can give you, and it's homopathic stuff. And all they're giving these kids is this alcohol-based medication that calms them. And a lot of our community falls for that. And I've seen it personally where people have fallen for that, and they've gone and said, oh, you know what, our child was hitting his head against the walls, or she was always hitting herself. And then we went to this homopathic person and she stopped doing that. It's not that they stopped doing it because of anything that was cured. It's just because you've drugged them. And I think that's one of the biggest things that's happening in our community as well, where these homopathic people are not being honest with everybody. They're not telling them that these medications carry alcohol in them. So I think that there is a lot of education that needs to happen on that. And it's sad that it's being advertised on radio for these people.
Yeah, and that's why, as you said, it is even more important for individuals like us to make sure we continue to do our work, what we are doing, and keep collaborating with anybody who's willing to help. And and that's why I have covered a lot of media from Punjabi media, so many radios, to CTV and Huffington Post, and I have tried to do whatever as an individual I can do, and I encourage every parent wherever I go, tell them to have the courage, go out, speak about it, and go to these kind of platforms, talk about it. Thousands of people in the coming days and weeks will watch this. Maybe if they can pick one thing out of this, that will be a huge success. And it is, and we need to educate our institutions too, right? Be it media or any other institutions that we have in our community. And what I have, from Sikhs for Autism, I have done is I have created a media toolkit for Punjabi media specifically, which will be going out tonight on the Autism Acceptance Day to them. I have heavily engaged the Punjabi media for last 3 years, and I told them this year, I will not come to your radio and speak anymore. I want you to speak about it yourself. You don't need me now there. You should be now to a level where you need to take this responsibility on your shoulders at the media personality who is an influencer in the Punjabi community to talk. You don't need to wait for me for a year and come back in April and talk. You need to talk about it whenever you feel it's right. And I'm providing them all the information in writing, and here it is. And luckily, a lot of these media personalities call me to understand autism. So when they speak, they're using the right language, they know what they are doing. And I say, I will be there to support you, but I want you as an individual to speak about it. It is not only Baljit's responsibility, it is community's responsibility to be inclusive. I'm just one parent, one voice. And my whole mission is I will keep speaking, and I hope the media and the community and our institutions join in. So I think that is all I had. Now, if any other question or anything else that anybody have to share, I think we are getting very close. It's 11:56, so we have to wrap up because there is another session at 12. But if still last call, I guess, if anybody have anything to say. Otherwise, I want to thank from bottom of my heart to everybody, to Karen and Intersectional Infinity Summit for creating this opportunity, creating this platform. This is great. I love this. I have been educated in last whole week, actually, and I look forward to learn more. I want to look into, I was looking into, but since yesterday's session, I wanted to look into the United Nations Charter, which is there, Article 2, Article 15, that was spoken about yesterday. And I want to understand it. And I want to have a printout copy of that with me on the Nagar Kirtan at the Sikh parade, so I can have it on my table, information table, to show to people that this is in writing, that people, these are the rights and these are the individual rights that we should not be stamping on. So once again, thank you so much, and I look forward to more sessions, and I look forward to connecting with many of you offline. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Baljit. And on behalf of the 9 and the Summit team, I just want to again thank you for your partnership. I feel this is just the beginning, as are so many of these conversations we've been having throughout the week. You know, I thank you for walking alongside as an ally. I look forward to meeting your daughter at some point and seeing her journey, you know, because really, we're seeing a difference in the way young people, you know, are embracing their identities very differently than many of us knew to do, or you know, because it's just things are changing. So we are seeing a shift. But like you so well said, we have to prepare not just our child to accept themselves and our family, but we have to make sure we're pushing for change in society and systems, because we're getting our children ready to go out, you know, into jobs, into society as an adult. And we have to think backwards from when they leave our home, and what does it look like? And it's not about changing them to be somebody else. It's about pushing for change in the society so that we're accepting children and adults for who they are, and being free to not feel they have to make eye contact, and if they need to move around, or STEM, we call it, right? Like, these things are very important. And that example of the young one who was the parent was asked to leave with their child, that's a perfect example of what we need to change, right? So thank you for those tangible examples. I am also happy. I couldn't obviously understand what you were saying, but I was inferring that you know, reach out to us, reach out to you, reach out, and certainly I know you're on Twitter, both your name account as well as Sikhs for Autism. The summit continues today as well, but just so you know, if this is the first time you're joining us during the summit, the website that you have access to, it is actually now being filled with recorded sessions from throughout the week. There's only a very small number that we're not allowed to keep because of copyrights and things like that. Thank you for doing that. Yes. So Baljit has put both his personal Twitter as well as the Sikhs for Autism Twitter in the chat. So you know, I think there's a lot of room for growth, but I think if we start working together and learning from the autistic community and really helping our children to embrace their own identity, we're gonna keep moving forward. So and thank you for doing this. I'm seeing differences already. It's very exciting, but it takes everybody, right? It takes everybody working together.
It's the whole community.
And so just so everybody knows as well, the next session that we're having is actually happening, like people will be, and some may have already arrived. I know Marion might be joining for the next session. And actually, you know what, Marion, I should give a shout out to you, because I believe that the facts, the information that Baljit was utilizing the fact sheet. I believe that was from the fact sheet that Autism Understanding Scotland did, because you just produced a new one. Wasn't that you? Or was it the other organization? It might be another one, but I know it was one in Scotland. So I thought it was you. I wanted to give you a shout out. This is the beauty of the internet though, right? Because you're joining us from Scotland right now, and it's trying to.
I think some information that I had was from a differentminds.scot.
That's what it was. Different minds.
And some information I had from my radio show that was shared with me by the callers.
Yes, absolutely. Oh yes, no, I know. But we're all working together, right? And that's the thing. We don't need to be figuring this out on our own. That's why coming together is so very important. And if people want to stay, you may stay in the room. If you want to take a 5-minute break and come back, you're welcome to do that. But the next session is our global kickoff for what we call the Awesome AU, the Awesome Carers Network. And so I won't formally introduce it just right this moment, but essentially we have what we call the Awesome Human Club on my campus where I work. We have about 1,000 grade 1 and 2 students, and those who are autistic and identify as such, and their families have thankfully helped the children to understand that they're autistic and not hidden it from them, because understanding their own neurology is very important from a young age. They will join in and meet with other people who are autistic, but often grown-ups. So there's almost like a mentoring, guidance, partnership, which is really exciting. And I have one teacher on my campus who is also autistic. And there's only 3 people in our board who are openly autistic that we're aware of that are educators. So we know there's lots out there. They're everywhere. But I'm very fortunate that I have one on my campus. We meet with those little people, as well as we have Maddie who comes. You've seen Maddie in the sessions, Baljit. Maddie joins us as well as a volunteer, and Sophia, who we also know from Scotland, joins us as well. So so many opportunities to connect and think creatively, and follow your child's lead, learn their language, and accept them for who they are. And that's where we're going to see all the change happen. So the Awesome Human Club is now turning into, this is going to be a new step for it, because we want to encourage families to connect with the autistic community, just like you have done in your session. So feel free to stick around if you would like to, or go take a break, or if you're done for the day, that's fine too. We respect that. What I'm going to do, just maybe give us like a 5-minute, Baljit. I know you were going to stay. If you can, absolutely, that would be great. But if something has come up, I totally understand, because things do. And thank you, Marion, for being here. I know Sophia was going to try, so we'll see if she can join us. But what I'm going to do is I will stop the live stream so we can just pause things, and I'll stop the